Thom. This is Thom Jennings of the Niagara Gazette, Lockport Union Sun and Journal. First off, I want to thank everybody that has subscribed already to this video log. It's kind of a new thing for us. We've done 15, 16 episodes thereabout. Obviously, once things get back to whatever normal is going to be, we'll be able to have some guests and everything. But in the meantime, just trying to come up with different types of topics. If you have anything, please feel free to email me. I'm always looking for suggestions. So Dave Wedekind, who I have come to know through the years through my work at concerts and everything. Dave works at Art Park right now. He used to work at UB and handle the media stuff for the concerts there. And so Dave set up one of these challenges where every day you pick an album and you just put the picture up and you do it for 10 days and you don't say anything, but it's just an album that had an influence on you, or at least your musical taste. So my brother-in-law calls me today. I nominated him on the second day, and he says, I'm going through all my albums, and it's like, I can't just pick 10. My brain's getting ready to explode. He's like, how'd you do it? And I said, well, I'll be honest with you. I just sort of picked some albums that sort of popped into my head as I was, sitting there thinking about it. I didn't really give it that much thought. And then I started going through my record collection, and I knew exactly what he was talking about. So in just, 35, 40 minutes, if that, I'm going through my record collection, and I came up with this gigundo stack of albums that were, important to me. So I figured out what the heck, instead of doing the old 10 album, don't say anything about it, I would try to kind of rapid fire through a whole bunch of albums in my collection, tell you why they're important to me, why I think they're great, and encourage you to share in the comments some of the albums that have meant a lot to you and why you think they're great. And maybe I can discover some new music while I'm sitting at home for the most part when I'm not working, and maybe you can find some albums that you'll want to listen to, or maybe an album that you haven't forgot about. And of course, it doesn't have to be on vinyl. You can download, you can do whatever. Anyhow, let's rapid fire through all these. Oh, goodness. Right off the bat, Triumph Allied Forces. What can I say about this one? Came out when I was still in high school. It was the album that kind of made it for Triumph. You got Magic Power and Fight the Good Fight, which are the big cuts. Fool for Your Love opens. This is just a great album. If you can only own one Triumph album and it's not going to be a collection of songs, this is the baby. Look at that. Pink Floyd, The Wall. This was Roger Waters' finest hour in Pink Floyd. And the funny thing is, this came out when I was still in middle school. And I hated it, 1979, and the first time I heard it, I thought it was just awful. It just wasn't the kind of music that I listened to. And it really wasn't until I was about 19 or 20 that a friend of mine, might have been a girl that I had a crush on, it was, introduced me to this album, and I really started to appreciate it and the whole Pink Floyd catalog. First compact disc I ever owned was Pink Floyd's Animals. Paris, now Supertramp Paris, this is a double live album by Supertramp. Their big album was Breakfast in America. I don't know, man. This album is incredible. Roger Hodgson, however you pronounce it, he was at Art Park, did a whole bunch of this when he was there the one year, and it just still sounded great. I don't know. I love live albums, and in terms of live albums, this one is, I'm going to listen to this afternoon. That's how much I love this thing. Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. Funny story behind this one is that I received this as a Christmas gift. My uncle was a priest at the time, so you got this satanic theme going on and everything like that. I remember my uncle, the priest, seeing me as I opened up my Christmas present, and he's looking at me like, that's an interesting choice for a Christmas present. But you know what? Whatever the themes are, it really doesn't matter. There's some great music on here. Randy Rhoads was on this album, and the second album, Diary of a Madman. Just incredible stuff. I don't think Ozzy ever matched this as far as any of his other solo albums. This thing is great. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Daylight Again. Oh my gosh, saw these guys on this tour. Ran into Graham Nash at a outside of his hotel. We chatted for a few minutes, and at the concert, I had really good seats, and he actually said hello to me from the stage. So I'm, 14, 15 at the time. It's like, oh! So I just became a huge Crosby, Stills, and Nash fan. But of everything I've heard, this still, to me, is my sentimental favorite album. It may not be their best album, but it certainly is very sentimental to me. I actually love the cover art. I think the cover art is amazing. Yes, 90125. Now here's an interesting one. I actually was an Asia fan before I was a Yes fan. So this album came out around the same time that the first Asia album came out. And I was out in Littleton, Colorado, of all places, the first time I heard it. It was this girl named Tracy who was best friends with a girl that I was with at the time. Yes, she was a girl. We were like 17, so I don't use that as a derogatory term. We were kids. And she played me a couple of cuts off here. I'll never forget. The first one I heard was a song called Our Song, which is on here. Next one was Owner of a Lonely Heart. And then the other one was City of Love. And that was the 3 cuts that they previewed on the Denver rock station, wherever the heck it was at the time. I want to say K-Rock, but it can't be. That's got to be Los Angeles. Anyhow, how important was this album to me? Introduced me to a guitarist named Trevor Rabin. Love Trevor Rabin so much, I named a son after him. That's my youngest son's name is Rabin. No, it's actually Trevor. Not what's next, who's next? Yes, I mean, what can I say about this album that hasn't been said? This particular version is pretty amazing. It's a 3 vinyl album set. It has some live recordings, and one of the very first live recordings of Won't Get Fooled Again before the crowd goes bonkers when they hear it. So that's sort of a fascinating document. But I don't know. To me, there's just not a bad note on this album. This was the Who at the absolute peak of the mountain. Some may argue Tommy. Some may argue Quadrophenia. To me, this is the quintessential Who recording. I mean, I remember the first time I heard it, I just listened to it every day for months, and still love it. Still absolutely love this album. It just doesn't get old. The Magical Mystery Tour, the Beatles. There's a lot of Beatles albums I could pick. Some people actually say that this is the worst Beatles album, maybe Yellow Submarine as well. It was sort of cobbled together from some stuff during the Sgt. Pepper sessions and all that stuff. Sentimental favorite. I was starting to collect Beatles albums when I was a kid. My very first album was Abbey Road. I bought a copy of this for my father for his birthday, and he opened it up and was like, he was kind of a moderate Beatles fan. And I think he soon realized that I had really bought it for him just so I could listen to it. And we have since called gifts in our family, it's a gift that you give to someone else that you hope to abscond later, a magical mystery tour. Kind of like the time my one son bought me a DVD of Finding Nemo, and I actually never watched the DVD. And I think he lost both the discs before I had the chance to. Cheap Trick, All Shook Up. I love Cheap Trick. I probably could have picked at Budokan. What do I love about this particular album? Produced by George Martin. Absolutely amazing stuff. I mean, just coming off at Budokan, Dream Police. This was the last album they recorded with Tom Peterson before he left. He winds up coming back later. But just a totally underrated album. George Martin produced the Beatles and he produced Cheap Trick. I think if he produced me, he could probably get a good album out of me. I'm not that great. You saw that last week if you watched me sing Bill Withers. I mentioned Yes earlier. In fact, I showed another Yes album. I feel like that this is actually a different lineup. 90125 is the Trevor Rabin group. This is the Steve Howe lineup. Some very important differences between Steve Howe and Trevor Rabin. Honestly, I love them both. I love them both differently. It's not even the same. This Triple Live album is, as far as the musicianship, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. If just a whole afternoon you're going to sit around listening to music, this is the live album you want to listen to. It's incredible. Rush, 2112. I'm not going to live to see 2112. Probably none of us are. I mean, it's a lot of years away. Although, I don't know, maybe people born around now will. It's an interesting thought, probably. Anyhow, just an incredible futuristic type stuff, but I mean, again, a lot of Rush albums I could pick. I could pick Moving Pictures for that matter, which is an album I actually like a lot better than this one. But there's just something incredible about side 1 of 2112 and just how the whole story flows and just the prog elements and the Canadian rock elements. I mean, it's just got everything. It's a pretty incredible album. That's all I got to say. The Record Company, a band that my sister introduced me to. I really love these guys. They're newer. This album came out a few years ago. I've seen them live a couple of times. They were scheduled to do a show in Rochester that just recently got canceled, which broke my heart. Love these guys. If you like kind of bluesy, funky, just great music, check them out. Richard and Linda Thompson, they were going through a divorce when this thing came out. And the songs on here are gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching. The songs on here are gut-wrenching and amazing. If you've never heard this album, you're missing out. Rockin' the Paradise. That's how it starts out, all pretty and new. And on the back, it looks kind of nasty. Metaphor for what Dennis DeYoung thought of America at the time. Anyhow, concept album, not a concept album. This is the last great album by the quintessential Styx lineup, which was Tommy Shaw, Dennis DeYoung, and those guys. You can say what you want about Kilroy's Here. Kilroy's Here is a very good album. This is a great album. This is amazing. And one of the important things about this album is, you know, they just as a band really sounded phenomenal. Even when the main lineup got back together, they called it the Return to Paradise Tour, because really this was when the band was still firing on all cylinders. And I think they were probably still getting along at this point too. This one, hey, Singing in the Rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. Well, I don't need to say it. If you ever seen the movie, you know the songs. They're amazing. It's not a rock album. I know you're like, all this guy listens to is rock. Let's do some country too. And some show tunes. Who don't love these show tunes? The other one on this album is Easter Parade, Judy Garland, Fred Astaire. I don't know that movie. But of course, Easter is coming up, so this is very timely. Peter Gabriel plays live. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is an album that I certainly could have put in this stack if I'd found it. I had to give up after pulling out 20 albums. This is another amazing double live set. I Go Swimming, Biko. I mean, just all of his early stuff, and the band is incredible, which includes Tony Levin, and just I don't know. I love this album. Band out of my hometown, Rochester, New York, Duke Jupiter, and they had a big song on this one called "I'll Drink to You." Honestly, this is not their best album, but it was their most commercially successful. If you see this in a bargain bin or anything like that, pick it up, man. Honestly, you're going to love it. There's just some great rockin' tunes on it. We're going to close up with just another band out of Boston. As far as like a perfect debut album, maybe this, Van Halen, I don't know. There's probably a stack more, but there's no album that debut album to me that sounded quite as great as this one. Great cover art, the sound, everything. It's just amazing. Anyhow, hope I didn't bore you too much. I hope everybody is staying safe. You know, you got your face covering, whether it's a bandana or whatever, when you're out in public. But again, the most important thing is everybody stay safe, stay sound, and we can all get back together someday soon. And of course, as always, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in with Thom. Thanks for supporting the column, supporting the Niagara Gazette and Lockport Union Sun and Journal, all those reporters that are out trying to cover this stuff and all the craziness. So all my fellow people in the media, I certainly, my heart goes out to you for all the great work that you do and putting yourself in danger. And of course, finally, those first responders, healthcare workers, everybody like that. You know, loved you before all this stuff happened, and we all appreciate you that much more now that this is going on. We all know that we're in good hands with you. That being said, thanks again so much for tuning in with Thom. Please subscribe. Thank you.